All right, everybody. Unhappy Wednesday. Coming to you live from our nest here at the Back Porch Saloon. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you, as always, for joining us from whatever service you're using to tune in and from wherever you may be. So please pull up a chair, crack open a beer if you got the opportunity. Use the company dime if you're still stuck at work. And let's try to have some fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. We're going to run through the business end of things here real quick so I can introduce our guest and we can get on to some fun. Folks, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're more comfortable, we totally get it. But just keep in mind, the YouTube channel is the best way to listen, comment, interact, which you'll find if you come in the room now. We've got our usual cast of characters will be joining us. I see Lou Mancini's already in the room. The YouTube channel is the best way to view, listen, and comment on any Green Legion radio show. So please do us a solid. Even if you're more comfortable on Facebook or Twitter, head over to YouTube, search the Green Legion, subscribe, hit your little bell for notifications, and make sure you share that everywhere. If you cannot catch any of our shows live, that's all right as well. You can always watch or listen later on any of the services previously mentioned, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bud Light Baseball Brunch, you fans of the Fightins, now that you are in your Red October and with a 1-0 lead after last night, you do not want to miss Greg Murphy and Chris Sack. You never want to miss Greg Murphy and Chris Sack. Bud Light Baseball Brunch, the absolute best Phillies talk out there every Sunday from 11 a.m. to noon. Don't miss that. The boys are the best. Green Legion Invasions. Obviously, Tampa's behind us. LA coming up this weekend. All hotel packages are sold out. Last I heard, there were a few tailgate spots still available. If you're thinking about going out there and joining us, well, joining the Green Legion, I will not be there. If you're thinking about joining the Green Legion at that tailgate, I get in there now. I say it every week. I'll continue to say it every week. Do not hesitate. If there is a trip you're interested in, you want to jump on that as soon as possible. Because he who hesitates, is lost. Well, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's so we still have Kansas City, Seattle, Dallas, the bye-week bender in Punta Cana, bus trips to New York for the Giants and the Jets, and also the bus trip down to D.C. Excuse me. There is still an outside shot that the Unhappy Brigade will head to Kansas City, but I can't guarantee it just yet. Still trying to hem and hawing about it. Don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off. Again, I'm the one hesitating now. Don't be like me. If you're thinking about going, just go, okay? You will not regret it. Anyone who's been on a trip can tell you it's the best way to do an Eagles away game. There is no comparison. I know there's competition, but I will tell you there is no comparison. The Green Legion, the best in the business, 21 years and counting. Again, he who hesitates. For our folks here in the Midwest Eagles Nest, he's one, his daughter and wife right down a couple tables over. We are going to have picture day this coming Sunday, 4:00 game, right? So make sure that you come ready. Make sure you bring the noise. I need the help. I can't be the only one yelling and screaming, waving cowbells around and screaming, whose house is this? I need a little help from time to time. We had a great turnout this past Sunday. We want another huge turnout this week, hoping the 4:00 game gives some people some more flexibility. Like I commented and posted last night, if you haven't looked at the weather yet, the high for Sunday, 58 degrees. That is the high temperature. Keep in mind, it's a 4:00 game, so at kickoff, the temperature will start to drop from there. And some of these pictures, I promise you, will take place outside, both right in the front of the building here, and I'd like to set up something around the lighted side out there as well. Apart from that, we still got the wristbands available for $2 a piece. Again, I have to charge you for them because I have to pay for them. do have the fan transfer forms, and I believe Kevin Rice, if you're listening, Marissa, if you're listening, Marissa, you are going to have to fill one of those out because I saw you in pictures wearing Bengals crap this past Sunday. You are not getting off the hook that easy. And we also still have the sign-up sheet for the bye week Saturday night Cyclones game, although we are running out of time on that, and I'm not getting a whole lot of interest. That's about all I got from the kind of business end of stuff. Folks, anybody out there who would like to sponsor this show, become a sponsor with the Green Legion, reach out to me. If you have a way to get a hold of Quimby, do that as well. We are actively looking for sponsors for this show, and we could really use the support. So that's the business end of things. And without further ado, before we get to the boner of the week, which I've already told them we're going to go into right after I introduce him, folks, I would tell you we have a real treat for you tonight, okay? All of you, especially my normal folks in the room, and I see you guys are going berserk over there already, some of it having to do with my Kelly Green jersey. Please, all of you, give a big Green Legion Radio welcome to our friend, Philly native, and lifelong Birds fan, Mr. David Thompson. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah.
We're trying to set this up for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's usually my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I drug my feet a little bit.
I think we saw your cousin.
Yeah, my cousin, Tom.
There he is,
Tom
right
Barnes.
Here.
Yep.
Thomas Barnes, Dave Thompson's cousin. Welcome aboard. I hope you'll stay aboard even in the upcoming weeks. We've got a few fun weeks coming up. So another part that we do here is interact with the room, right? So I have my usual suspects, Lou Mancini. I see the legend is next to me. Yes, the legend is next to me. I am not the legend. Keenan Harmon, howdy neighbors. Where's Taylor Swift? Probably on a plane to Chicago, right?
She should be here in about a half hour.
She's right, yeah. Dave's got that all lined up.
Yes.
Is that when your wife's leaving?
Yes.
Shh. Nobody's supposed to know that. Andrew Bagley in the room. What's up, Rumi? Well, it's time to get those Marlins on the hook. In NOLA, we trust. Fly, Eagles, fly. NOLA would make me nervous with the inconsistency, although I know he's been much better down the stretch.
Last two starts were good. Excellent.
Excellent starts last year. So you want that again. You don't expect him to be wheels, right? But you do expect him to.
Nobody's going to pitch that good.
Come out and be a number 2 starter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Be the 1A. Russ Taylor coming live from Citizens Bank Ballpark. So he's at the game. Waiting for that to start. That's pretty cool. What do we got here? Dirty Waters Dawkins. No. This is Dawkins, baby. I am 100% Weapon X. Dawkins. Russ Taylor's been drinking since 3. Ring the bell, Russ. Very good. Lou Mancini says, glad to meet you, Dave.
Nice to meet you.
And Keenan Harmon. Hey, Dave, welcome to the room. Ignore us idiots. Kind of walk Dave through what, the first thing we like to do right after all the business stuff is we get right to the boner of the week, right? We kind of started doing that late last year with this show, trying to add a little bit of fun. And I've got 2 of them for you this week. And Dave, jump in and comment as I get going here. Yeah. So I walked you through this. This is where we pick an idiot or somebody that's done something incredibly stupid.
And it's a great choice this week.
It's a great choice this week. We got 2 of them. Yeah. Right. So 2 in particular. So we'll start with the New York Giants.
There we go.
Right.
There we go.
You want to?
There we go.
Yeah.
My least favorite team as a Eagles.
Least favorite or most hated?
Most hated.
Yeah, that'll ingratiate yourself better.
Yes, most hated. And the reason for that is the Cowboys didn't exist when I became an Eagles fan. So I didn't hate them right away. I hated the Giants. And then, of course, Staubach went to the Cowboys, which made them more lovable. And then they were bought out by Jerry Jones, and everything became clear. Yes,
right.
yes.
It all became clear after
yes,
that.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, our first candidate of the week, the New York Football Giants. I would tell you, Monday night, I consider that a must-win for them. Right?
It was
1-2 going in.
Yep.
Home game, 11 days off.
Yep.
Time to prepare. Seattle, good team, not great. And what happens?
They just, it was hard to watch.
I fell asleep.
Yeah.
In like the first quarter.
Yeah.
They go out and get absolutely waffled by the Seattle Seahawks, 24-3 on their home turf.
11 sacks.
11 sacks. He's dumped 11 times.
Yeah.
Right. 4 years, $160 million for Mr. Danny Dimes, or as I like to call him, Blues Clues. He throws 2 more interceptions, one of them being a pick six. Gets sacked 11 times, fumbles twice, losing one of them.
Pick six, 98 yards?
97.
97.
Yeah. But pretty much the length of the field.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where you choose to make the mistake. Good job, Danny. And one of the biggest reasons why I called it a must-win was because now they have to travel to Miami. And they're going to go down to Miami. Now, it's a pissed-off Miami team coming off a whooping from Buffalo.
Yep, they got their butt kicked.
And now the Giants are going to head down there.
Yeah.
Tell me the Giants are going to stand a snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah, no chance.
Against the Fish, there's no way. Like I said, Monday night was an absolute must-win. And it ended up being an epic failure. So, boner of the week number 1, Giants for multiple reasons, right? Fall flat on your face at home with 11 days to prepare. And also, again, the Daniel Jones contract, right? Just Mike.
Yeah.
You good? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was surprised that they were that unprepared. Big Ball was a pretty good coach.
I do too.
They got him from Buffalo, and he did a great job last year.
And he did great job last year and had done a great job with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Allen got better every year under Daboll.
Yep.
It looked like Daniel Jones, while he still wasn't great,
He was
had taken a step in somewhat the right direction.
Yeah. He just
But are you one like me that kind of considered that more because Saquon Barkley was healthy all year long?
that was the key to their team last year, is having Barkley.
Healthy, yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
every year since Jones has been in the league, Barkley's missed time.
Yep.
Except for last season. And it just so happened to be Jones' best year.
And
But best year was still only 3,200 yards passing and only 15 touchdowns.
it's all relative to what he had done previously.
Right.
It was a great improvement, but certainly not impressive.
And certainly not worth 4 years, $160 million.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, $40 million a year is a bargain anymore for a quarterback.
Yeah. But he brought it on himself. He's the
Yeah.
one that went out there and was thumping about, I'm not going to sign this, I'm not going to sign that, and pushed him into that contract.
Yeah.
I think they tagged the wrong guy. They should have tagged Jones and paid Saquon. Now, hindsight, he's hurt again.
Yes.
But you couldn't know that at the time. What you should have known was that he was easily the most important part of your offense.
Yeah. And it showed last week.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right. So now we get to number 2 here. And for all you fans of the Fightins, this one should make you smile. He is a repeat offender as the boner of the week. We talked about him not even that long ago. And when he tried his failed attempt at playing the race card in the lawsuit against Major League Baseball. This time, once again, Angel Hernandez showing that how horrifying of an umpire he really is. You watched that game where
I missed it.
So he rings up Harper on a check swing, right?
Yep.
Harper goes bananas, just absolutely loses his mind, as only a few guys really can. Harper has a tendency to lose his shit from time to time. He rings him up and then has the nerve to tell Harper, after he throws Harper out of the game, Harper goes and gets his money worth. Hernandez has the nerve to look at Harper and tell him, when you watch the replay, you'll see that I was right. Anybody else watch that replay? I know Mike did. Did you watch that replay?
I did.
A little league umpire could make a better call than that, right? There's no way he broke the plane. It just didn't happen. So Harper gets tossed. On his way through, he throws his helmet
into the stands. Yes.
So that gets better. Tosses his helmet into the crowd at the bank, who erupt in applause. And he was fined $5,000 for it.
Which is like nickels.
But here's the fun part. Harper intends to take Hernandez to arbitration court over that $5,000 fine.
Really? I did not hear.
It just keeps getting better and better, right? Finally, but not unexpected, Angel Hernandez finished the 2023 season as the worst rated umpire in all of baseball. 161 bad calls in 10 games after he missed all that time with the back injury. 161 bad calls.
It's hard to do.
And that's difficult.
So he's good at that.
Well, everyone's got to be good at something.
Yeah.
Prior to his return, he rehabbed in the minors to get readjusted, and big surprise, he made headlines for his garbage calls at AAA as well. Right? Just a couple of highlights of his wonderful season. He missed 15 calls in one game on August 12th between the Marlins and the Yankees. He missed another 15 calls in a game between the Pirates and the Nationals on September 14th. Based on strike zone call accuracy, Hernandez's performance that day was the worst by any major league umpire in the last 5 years.
You got to admire him. It's a tough standard to reach.
You cannot make this stuff up. Yeah. He is the worst. He tried that lawsuit because he said he wasn't getting opportunities to ump World Series games.
Thank God.
And so he said that they were discriminating against him because he's black. And the United States Supreme Court threw it out because there's just lack of information to back him up.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the New York Giants, and once again to Angel Hernandez for giving us the fodder to be able to talk smack about them as the boner of the week.
Yes. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Angel Hernandez. So that's kind of what we do with that. We have a little fun. I was doing kind of this day in sports history. I kind of let that go. And then usually from here we dive into birds and stuff. But seeing as we have the guest, we want to take advantage of how many years as an Eagle fan now?
It's 65.
65 years Eagles fan. So, Dave, I'm going to start by just asking you to take us through how that started. We talked about it a little while ago. How that started, what made you really dive in, and how it snowballed from there.
Sure.
These guys are going to love this.
Yeah, I first started being an Eagles fan in the late 50s, and timing of it was probably two things. Number one, they drafted a guy named Tommy McDonald, who was a wide receiver, and they traded for Norm Van Brocklin with the Rams. Up until that time, they had been a tough team in the late 40s, early 50s, but it kind of slipped. With Van Brocklin and McDonald, they all of a sudden were challenging the Giants for supremacy in the East. And of course, they had a Philadelphia favorite born in southeastern Pennsylvania, and with them since the late 40s, Chuck Bednarik.
Concrete Charlie.
Yep. And for those of you that don't know, he's the last of the two-way players. He played middle linebacker and center. And believe it or not, in the 1960 championship game, he played all but two plays in that game, and they were both special teams kickoffs.
Shit.
Then watching, I love to watch it because of Tommy McDonald. I got my first taste of what Bednarik was like in 1960 on their way to playing in the championship game. He tackled Frank Gifford.
That's that picture we got of him,
right?
The clothesline from hell?
Yep. He went across the middle like a slot receiver would, and he hit him so hard that he broke his leg in multiple places. He missed the rest of the season and the next year. Not just the rest of the season, but the whole next year because his leg was so broken.
Oh, that's a crying shame.
Yes.
Couldn't have a better team, right?
So my at the age of 12 in 1960, got to see the Eagles play the Green Bay Packers. That was when Vince Lombardi was first there in the championship game. Back then, they had an East and a West. The champions played no long playoff like today, and the Eagles beat them. The interesting part to me at the end, because of my loving of Bednarik, is the last play was Jim Taylor, who was the the Green Bay Packers fullback, went up the middle to try to score right at the end of the game to win it for them. And who should tackle him but Bednarik? And they said they could tell that he was talking to him. And his comment was, "You're not getting up off this ground until the blankety blanking horn sounds to end the game." And he laid on top of Taylor
And wouldn't let him up?
until the horn sounded that the game was over. So that's how the game ended, was with Bednarik on top of Jim Taylor, who everybody back then, he was a tough fullback. Would remind you a little bit of Derrick Henry.
Okay, so that kind of build,
kind of build, that kind of size. And Paul Hornung was the running back with that team.
Yeah.
So they had Bart Starr,
Paul
Hornung, and Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah. And a good defense. And the Eagles beat them for this first championship. And as a kid, that was my first one. Now, why I became more entrenched as an Eagles fan is 4 years later, the Phillies, who I was a fan of and still am, but not quite as the Eagles, they go into the last 12 games of the season. And for those of you that are from Cincinnati, you'll enjoy this. The Reds and the Cardinals were 6 games back with 12 games to go. All the Phillies got to do is win maybe 4 or 5 games, and they got it. They lose 10 straight.
Oh.
Worse yet, Gene Mock, who was their manager, decides that he's going to go with his 2 studs, Chris Short, who was a lefty, and Jim Bunning, who again ties into the Cincinnati area from northern Kentucky and was a senator from Kentucky. He pitched them every other game for the first 6 games, and they lost every one of them. And not only that, but their arms were like hanging from their shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And they ended up losing the next 4. Then they won 2, but they ended up finishing 1 game back of the Cardinals, tied with the Reds for second place.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine?
Yeah. And that's when Gibson became famous, because he pitched for the Cardinals,
Yeah.
and then they won the World Series because of his pitching.
His biggest year was, what, 67 or 68?
68.
68.
Yeah. So he was a great player. But
Nasty son.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then to add to it, for Philadelphia sports, the Warriors, who were made up mostly of Philadelphia guys, Eddie Gottlieb, who owned them, also had a piece of ownership in the Harlem Globetrotters, decides to move the team to San Francisco. So he takes his team full of Philadelphia guys and moves them to San Francisco, and they bring in the Syracuse Nationals to become the Philadelphia 76ers. So to say I'm not a 76ers fan would be an understatement. So, and then they made matters even worse for those of us that were ardent Philadelphia fans. They got Chamberlain in a trade with the Warriors. They traded Connie Durkin and a couple other players. Again, Connie Durkin, another Cincinnati guy, and they got him. They kept him for a couple years. They won the NBA championship, and then I think at his insistence, they traded him to Lakers.
Yeah.
So now my pro basketball team's gone. I already like college basketball better than that. My pro baseball team has just choked away a series, and they would never get back for another 16 or 17
Yeah,
years.
it was 1980.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it became much, much more of an ardent Eagles fans. And then in 1971, my uncle got ill, and he had season tickets to the Eagles game, and he gave it to my father to give to me. So that was the first time I had it. And then I had a group of buddies who had an extra season ticket, and I bought that and had a season tickets to the Eagles through the 74 season.
Nice.
I kept them.
Even after you moved here?
I moved here. I moved to Louisville first and then here, and had them for 4 or 5 years. My brother-in-law, Don Hubler, used them during those years. And then when I moved here, realized that I was going to be here permanently. My daughter was born here, and we knew we were going to be staying here for a while. So I ended up giving them up, but loved going down to the games. The fans were just crazy. And everybody knew everybody. we for whatever reason, the 3 or 4 of us decided the worst center in all of football was a guy named Mike Evans. And the people around us, when we'd walk in, start cheering, "Here comes the Mike Evans fan club." And everybody booed. And then the dad injury to Philadelphia fans. They had a very good quarterback who replaced Van Brockman named Sonny Jurgensen. But Sonny apparently had a taste for the wives of his teammates. And
it's usually frowned upon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they ended up trading him to the Washington Redskins for Norm Snead. And he played football like his name. If you imagine what a Norm Snead would play like, that was him.
He played football like his name.
Yeah, so
Norm Snead.
Oh, it was.
So what's the first thing you picture when you think of Norm Snead? Like, is it Revenge of the Nerds, like Land going on over there?
You think of
Red Ogre's gonna come out, nerd.
You think of Daniel Jones this last Sunday. So that'll give you a little idea about Norm.
You think it's Daniel that saw 11 sacks?
Yeah.
Big 6.
Yeah.
100 yards passing. He's just a bum.
And the worst part is his first full year, they won the first 4 games. So obviously well coached, and then proceeded to lose the next 9.
Nice.
Yeah. Once the opponents picked up on Norm's abilities, they just ate him alive.
Let me ask you a question. So, Eagles fans still to this day, take a lot of crap for the snowballs and ice balls thrown at Santa Claus. Now, most of us think it's ridiculous that we still take crap for this.
Yeah.
But so that was 1968? Is that the year?
No, it was 80s. Was that
it was
like
60s? Some idiot wandered out. It was a big snowstorm.
You're right, 68. Yes.
68.
Yes.
All right.
The guy that was supposed to be Santa Claus
didn't show. It was a blizzard.
Right. So they picked some guy out in the crowd who was like 6 foot tall and 113 pounds and put the Santa Claus outfit on him.
Now, this is at a time the Eagles are not a good team.
Not a good team.
It's a blizzard. People had to shovel out their seats.
Right. Right.
And so here's this idiot.
Comes walking out. The suit is just flopping all over the place. The beard doesn't fit his face because he's got a skinny face.
Yeah.
And
He's
the fans went, he's waving, and the fans go crazy and start throwing snowballs at him. And that's when they played at Franklin Field.
Not the Vet yet. So the Vet opens in
69.
So it was not long after.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed the way, like, Birds fans behaved, right? Like, the Vet was like the 700 level. You just didn't go up there wearing anything else. Right?
No. If you were wearing other jerseys,
it didn't matter what team. You just didn't go up there.
No, you didn't. Nope. It was all Eagles fans.
And violent.
Well, not only that, they had a waiting list for season tickets.
Yeah.
So the only reason I got my season ticket was because of my uncle, and then because my buddies had one guy that dropped out, and they didn't want to sell. They were going to pay for it themselves if they had to. So you picked it up, and then I didn't want to give up the seat.
Sure.
In case I was coming back to Philadelphia or the East Coast. If I lived in New York, I would have traveled down to Eagles games. Yeah.
That's only an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have one question here from one of our guys, Keenan Harmon. Good dude. He says, "Where'd you grow up?"
I was born in Kensington section of Philadelphia. Me and my cousin Tom Barnes, that's on there. We were both born in the Kensington section of Philadelphia where our parents grew up. And then I moved to the Olney section of Philadelphia and went to Olney High and then to Drexel. So I'm a Philadelphia kid.
Yeah, you're
from birth.
Through and through.
Yep.
So Kensington.
It's just about a mile north and east of where Temple is.
Okay. No, I mean, I know where it is, but you see what goes on there now, right?
Now.
Yeah. So what they're doing there is they're basically finding these people that have owned it. I don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole here, but they're finding these people who are just like zombies wandering around OD'd or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just dumping them off in that area. They can't control what's going on.
Yeah.
So they're trying to just contain the filth into one area, and it's Kensington.
Yeah. Well, Kensington, the reason for the name is it was all Irish, Scottish, and English immigrants that lived there. Our grandparents were both from Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And the other grandmother was from Scotland. So they all settled in that area. So it got the name Kensington, which is the community outside London.
Right.
So that's how it got the name. But then as the years went on and people moved out, the neighborhood just went downhill.
Yeah, it's a shame. And you see it happening everywhere. There's pockets of it in every city you go to.
In fact, Tom's sister was telling us she was at a religious retreat and talking to a lady who was a missionary in the United States where they go to different communities.
Yeah.
And she said when she told her she was from Philadelphia, she said, "Oh yeah, we're doing a mission. We're doing a missionary trip up to Philadelphia, and we're going to this really, really bad neighborhood. It's called Kensington." And she was born in Kensington, just like Tom and I. So you can imagine what she felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we went down. So I had my boys there in January of 22. It was the last game of the year for the Birds. It was a joke. The playoff seeding was already set. We're playing Dallas. It was the coldest day in the history of the universe. But my friend Greg picks us up, and he takes us driving around the city, takes us down to Kensington. I told him, dude, don't drive down there. And, the kids got a real look at how bad things can actually get. As if people are just kind of leaning against buildings and stuff. Well, it's horrible.
Yeah.
You go right past Mickey's gym and whatnot, and you can't get out and go look at it for fear of God knows what,
Yeah, I had Kim back in Philly. We were back visiting the family, and I was telling my cousin that I was going to take her down to show her Olney and then down to Kensington. And the first thing he said is, "Don't take your daughter into Kensington. It's too dangerous."
It's very dangerous down
and that's kind of sad because that was a very nice neighborhood back then.
Yeah, well, it's where you're from.
Yeah.
It's gotta hurt, right?
Yeah.
Shit. Keenan Harmon, once again, my guy, Overbrook Panther here, Dave, class of 1975.
My dad started went to high school in West Philly. Which is a neighboring school to Overbrook.
Okay.
Overbrook, by the way, is where Will Chamberlain went.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad went to West Philly just for 1 year and then had to drop out to help with the family finances. But yeah, my other grandparents are from that area in Overbrook.
So how do you like the way Philadelphia has their sports complex set up? Right, with everything down
there
outside of the city. I think it's great.
It is because it used to be you had Connie Mack Stadium, which was right in the center north of Temple.
Yeah.
And then you had Franklin Field, which really wasn't set up to be a pro. It was University of Pennsylvania's football field. And then hockey was played at the arena.
Yeah.
Which 8,000 people. And
times, right?
And then, of course, when the Flyers became so popular, that drove the building of Spectrum, right?
Which that's where Rocky had Rocky out there for a long time. They used to have him out in front of the Spectrum for a long time.
Yeah, they wanted to put him on the art museum where he had run up the steps.
Yeah.
And the art museum didn't want that.
He was up. Yeah,
but
he's down on the side of the steps now.
Now they decided to do that because from their standpoint, it draws people. Yeah, it was crazy not to do it.
Except there's always a guy, and it's the same guy every time I've gone there. It's this older dude, and he's out there, and then people line up to go up and take pictures and stuff. He comes up and tries to act like he's running the show. And, I tell the people behind me, yo, when you get up there, don't give that dude your camera. I said, I will stand here and wait, and I'll take your picture for you. Because that guy's going to take it, and he's going to want money, or he's going to want to sell you something, or whatever. Yeah. This is Philadelphia, folks. Everything's a hustle, right?
Absolutely.
So he get when we were there in July. Yeah, I had the fam there, and there was a couple behind us that was they were from out of the country, spoke English, but there was some sort of accent, German or something. And I told them that. And they're like, well, what if he gets aggressive? He's not going to get aggressive. So I walk up, the people in front of me, he's taking their picture. He comes back, he says, let me see your phone. I'm like, yeah, we got it. That's the folks behind me are going to do it. Why don't you want me to do it? I said, I don't want to give you any damn money. And I don't want you haggling me for money.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you don't tell him that, he won't leave it alone.
Well, he got like all pissing and moaning about it. I'm like, dude, you don't own this thing.
Yeah.
Like, walk away. I'm all about guys making a buck, but don't be a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? So, and now we're into the link. We're into the vet.
Yep.
Right. So we're getting into the 70s. Now you've moved out here, Louisville, and then here.
Yes.
Right.
Been there
but still an
since
avid Eagles fan.
Still an avid Eagles fan.
So how were you getting your games back then? Just newspapers and
newspapers
and stuff.
Newspaper and talking to cousins.
And whatnot. Yeah.
And then trying to follow them as much as possible.
So you were still very much connected to Philly.
Yes.
Right. So what is it? It's the mid to late 70s with Vince Papale. Right.
Right.
When he gets that tryout.
Right.
Now the movie sensationalizes it, where it was all this big to do and all this stuff. I mean, he actually got a private workout because he was a semi-pro football player.
Right.
But he's from the streets. He's from Philly.
He's from Philly. He's from South Philly.
And he makes the team.
Yes.
What's the reaction?
Oh, everybody.
It's like a real life Rocky.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, real life, and they love the story. And of course, the stadium now is in South Philly.
Yeah.
Which is where it's a large Italian neighborhood.
Yep.
Just like Kensington was English and Irish and Scottish, South Philly is where the Italians.
Yeah, he's thinking that the market down there. Yeah.
Of course, they also had the mafia down there, but
which actually, if you go into that Chickies and Pete's on Packer, at night on the weekend, that kind of still happens.
Oh yeah,
it's weird, but you can tell the minute they walk in the door, the whole room just goes.
Yep, but it's safe. It's safe.
Yeah. Well, I looked at my friend Greg. I had the kids there with me. These dudes walk in, you can tell. Suits, everything. I'm like, dude, we gotta get out of here. He goes, Adam,
no.
This is the safest place in the city right now.
Yep.
All right, bet. So the reaction is like a real life Rocky, right? He's running the streets, training and everything.
Yeah, but he didn't get a whole lot of publicity back then. He was just a football player.
He's just a dude.
Yeah, just a dude. It was a nice story.
It is a cool story.
And
that was actually my wife's and I's first date.
All people wanted was for another championship.
Sure.
And then, of course, they get there, and then lose.
John Madden's Raiders.
And I took the amount of abuse I took from guys I work with here. The phone was ringing off the hook. We lived in Mount Healthy at the time, and the phone was ringing off the hook with guys giving me a hard time because they were losing.
You're a freaking Bengal fan. What do they have to talk about? You know what I mean? Well, actually,
at that time they had the Kenny Anderson team.
Right.
Yeah. So that was good years for me. I had the Bengals and I had the Eagles.
Yeah.
And good times were back again last couple of years.
Yeah. So, all right. So the vet, right? Now we're at the link, right? So,
I have not been to the link.
You've not been there yet.
No.
Oh wow.
No. I've been to the Phillies Park.
Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
Gorgeous ballpark.
Yes, great place.
Gorgeous ballpark.
But I've not been to the link yet.
So my sons and I, and we did this after we came back from the trip in July. My sons and I have been to 15 different ballparks together. I ranked the bank third, Wrigley Field being number one, Camden Yards 2, and the bank third. Now, the overall game day experience at the bank was better. I gave the nod to Camden Yards, one, because the aesthetics, the view.
Yeah, the view is great.
And two, because a lot of your modern parks, the bank specifically, took ideas from that ballpark. So Camden Yards is kind of the original of what you see now of what a lot of these ballparks do, which is why but I mean, Wrigley Field. And I've been to Fenway. And if you go just me, I've been to 19. But I only count the ones that my boys and I have been to.
Yeah. No, I've been to Wrigley.
I love it.
Yeah, and I've been to Camden Yards. Camden Yards was very impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
The back, like when you go there now, you can tell it's a 20-something-year-old stadium. It's a little dingy and stuff, a little dirty. But the backdrop, like I recommend anyone who goes, first row, upper deck, kind of third base side, your backdrop is the warehouse in Utah Street. And it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Great place to see a ball game.
It is.
The fans aren't quite as engaged as they are in Philly, though.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a fan base in all of sports that's as engaged as Philadelphia fans.
Yeah, even the Cubs fans weren't quite as engaged as Philly fans.
Well, see, and the shine's off the apple a little bit up there. Once it was different before they won that World Series. When they won that World Series, things changed.
Yeah,
They're still avid, but it's not. They were ravenous, like maniacs about it, because they had been like. Not only had they not won in forever, they were just horrible forever. Right?
Yeah.
Like the Phils would come up and down, the Red Sox would come up and down. The Cubs just stunk for 108 years. They were just terrible.
Yes, yeah.
The curse of the Billigan.
Yeah.
If you believe in that.
Yeah. I'm a typical sports fan. I wear certain things to certain games.
Of course.
Yes. The other night, my wife talked me into changing during the Eagles game to put this shirt on.
Because it was good luck.
It was good luck, and sure enough, they won in overtime.
There you go.
Right after I put it on.
Behind every great man,
there's
a great woman.
Yes.
Right? Or at least a smarter woman.
Yeah, smarter. Yes. Yeah, she was very insistent. Put your Eagles shirt on.
Here you go. So this is your cousin. Just tell Dave that my wife Joan and me will take him to the link.
Okay.
So there you go.
There we go.
If you haven't looked at ticket prices for Eagles games, including on the road, it's pretty much the hottest ticket in the league. So you're going to spend.
He's from Philly. He'll figure out a way.
If you do decide to go, let me know. I try to get you hooked up with the tailgate. It's at Xfinity Live, right down there at the sports complex. Green Legion, it's 600-700 people for every home game. I'll try to get you hooked up there. See if I can't get you free passes to go into that.
Okay.
Can't guarantee anything. At worst, it's $75 a person, and it's 4 hours of
Do you say the F word on air?
Not anymore.
No, you just said it.
Did I?
Nobody says free. I'll get you kicked out.
All right. You know what? Walk away. The general manager of the Back Porch Saloon, Mike Solon over there heckling.
You can say the other F word all you want.
You
don't say that.
I have it in like 2.5 months.
Because I haven't been on.
No, you better watch your freaking mouth too. But all right, so into the link. Now we move into 80s. Here comes Randall Cunningham, right?
Right.
And how that team doesn't get over the hump. That
But
defense,
it was
Buddy Ryan and Cunningham.
Yeah, Buddy Ryan. I didn't like this. I just did not like Buddy Ryan.
You didn't like Buddy Ryan?
I did not. But I really like Cunningham. I thought he was fun to watch.
Yeah. The ultimate weapon.
Yeah, and he just wasn't accurate enough as a passer.
This is true.
But he played with a fire.
God, he can throw it.
Oh, he could throw it, but he couldn't hit those intermediate passes.
And he couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
It was Michael Vick before Michael Vick. That's really what that comes down to.
Yeah.
Vick was a lot the same way. Cannon, but those short passes.
Yeah. Just a runner.
Lou Mancini. Dave, I was at the vet for Reggie White's first game. 2.5 sacks and a tip pass that Wes Hopkins returned for a touchdown. It was against the Cardinals. Remember this?
I do not remember that.
Remember that one?
I'm obviously remember Reggie White
Oh,
and Hopkins, but no.
Keenan Harmon. Green Legion tailgates rule. Dave can have my passes for any tailgate he wants.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, thank you.
So when you're ready to go, just let us know and we'll take care of it. This is how the Green Legion works, man. There are tens of thousands of people that subscribe to these things, and hundreds to Tampa Bay. We had 1,500 at the tailgate, but it's a gigantic family.
That's
right.
That's nice.
And then you have the kind of tighter knit groups inside said family. Right? Yeah. And Keenan, I would tell you, I had to do the buses when we were down there getting 6 buses loaded up from hotels in Clearwater out to George Steinbrenner Field. I don't know that I could have gotten the people back on the bus leaving the stadium without Keenan. So.
Yeah, the nice thing when I was going to when I had the Eagles season tickets is we lived in the suburbs up around Doylestown, and we would drive down to the Fern Rock station and subway.
Oh, nice.
So you weren't around any traffic. You park your car there for $1 or something, and then you take the subway all the way down. And the last subway stop was right right there for veterans.
It's pretty much the same way now.
Yeah.
You gotta go. You want to go out in Center City or somewhere around there, grab a drink and a burger or whatever beforehand, and then you just hop the rail.
Right there.
Get off
Yep.
right at the sports complex.
Yep.
And that Xfinity Live place is, you walk out and it's like right there. So you're in like in a heartbeat.
And it's funny growing up in Philly. I was used to the subway and the L and the buses. You get anywhere. We didn't have a car till I was 8 years old, so used to taking public transportation.
And you move out here.
I get a co-op job when I'm in Drexel out at Ford in Detroit,
Oh shit.
and my dad says to me, "Well, how are you going to get around? You don't have any car." I said, "Well, I'll take the subway and the L and all that stuff. I can get around. I know how to get around." He says, "Oh, so you've looked into it." I get up there and I end up hitchhiking all over Detroit. What an idiot.
Hitchhiking
Oh,
all over Detroit.
yes, yeah,
Right.
which isn't the safest thing in the whole world.
Right, like
yeah.
if I could pick a city to hitchhike in, I can promise you Detroit is nowhere near the top of that list.
And typical of a teenager, late teen, early 20, I go down to a Pistons game. I take the bus. They did have a bus that went down there, and think it's going to run till
Right.
early in the morning. I come after the game and I go and I'm waiting at the stop, and they kept saying 8 Mile. I lived at 12 Mile, which is 4 miles north of there.
Yep.
Finally went in and asked a guy in a restaurant, "When does the bus for Royal Oak come?" And he said, "Oh, that stops at 10." So I got to take a bus up to 8 Mile and walk 4 miles to get to my apartment.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? Could you imagine walking around there now?
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's where Eminem's friggin' grew up. Like it's horrible. It's like Kensington.
Yeah.
Everyone find down there.
Well, this was 67, 68. This was 67,
Right.
just before the riots.
Go watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah. So-
man.
So not bright.
So we're lucky to have him here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what it comes down to, right? Oh my God. Well, you took some chances, huh? Oh,
You know,
just
you
kind of
know,
oblivious to
yeah,
teenager,
oblivious.
right?
Yeah, teenager. Yeah, you think you're made of steel.
Right.
Yep.
All right. So we get out of Buddy Ryan, get the railroad stuff. Cunningham goes away. We're kind of in a lull for a while. And then Andy Reid comes in. Right.
Andy Reid was
And the
still
first-
my favorite coach of any sport.
one of the first things Andy Reid does is draft this quarterback out of Syracuse. And I will never forget the vicious booing at that draft. You think we were Jets fans with the way we treated Donovan McNabb at that draft.
Yes, and I, at the time, being here, I was hoping they would get McNabb.
Really?
Yeah. And everybody here was talking about Achilles Smith.
You saw what happened to that ball.
Well, and of course everybody wanted Tim Couch, who's the Kentucky guy,
Yeah, and ended up with Cleveland.
and he's terrible.
Yep. Now, was that him or was that Cleveland? Mike, what do
Yeah,
we call
yeah.
Cleveland?
The factory of
The
sadness.
factory of sadness.
I think it was a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
You think the pro game was too much for him? And then, of course, it's the factory of sadness.
Yes.
Just
And then of course Achilles Smith was
atrocious.
it goes to show you why you shouldn't draft a guy that only played 11 games in college.
Well, I think we had another one in San Francisco just recently.
Yep.
Lance, right?
Yep, Trey Lance.
Yeah, it's
Same
another one.
thing.
Yep.
You would think people would learn from past
they
mistakes.
They
Yeah.
just don't. They keep making the same mistakes over everything. There, yeah, Lou Mancini had it right here. Everybody wanted Ricky Williams, the halfback out of Texas. And the Saints, Mike Ditka, had taken over the Saints, and I forget, they just showed it like a week ago. I was watching NFL Network. They showed the laundry list of crap that he gave up to get that pick. He basically mortgaged the franchise.
He gave every pick that year.
Yeah.
And then 2 picks the next 2 years.
And I think, was there players involved? I think he gave up players.
He gave some players, yeah.
Like he just bought the farm for Ricky, and Ricky couldn't handle the pressure. Like
Yeah.
He wouldn't take his helmet off when he
Yeah.
was doing interviews.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole, when he goes to Miami, there's the whole weed thing. I mean, honestly, in retrospect, McNabb was the right choice.
Yeah, I
Except for when he barfed on the field in the Super Bowl. I could have done without that.
I was almost hoping that year, for the Bengals' sake, that they would have traded with New Orleans for all those picks, but they made the right choice by getting McNabb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ended up being the right choice.
Yeah.
Statistically, he's the best quarterback in the franchise
Yeah,
history.
I really.
Statistically.
Yeah.
I don't know about Nick Foles. I get it. But
If I was listing my 10 favorite over the years, McNabb would make the list.
all right, so let's do that. You've been an Eagles fan for 65 years. We already talked about Concrete Charlie, so I'm assuming he's number one.
He's number one.
But where do you go from there as far as your favorite Eagles?
Number two would be Tommy McDonald.
Tommy McDonald.
And
Who
then,
was also Vince McCauley's favorite player.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tom Brookshire. He was a defensive back. And then Norm Van Brocklin, who was the quarterback they got. Then McNabb, probably.
McNabb?
Yep.
So right in the middle of the pack, right in the middle of your top 10?
Yeah, and I would say that I think Hurts has made his way into my top
He's
10.
getting there. I know. I think I have PTSD from Carson Wentz. So I get I get very, very like, do I want to jump on it? Kelsey is on my list.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, we talked about it the other day, and I said Kelsey is definitely in my top 10.
Absolutely.
And Brent Selleck, who's another Cincinnati guy.
Yeah. And
Tight
actually,
end.
years ago, Mike and I, when we were one of the times we misfired with this group here, we would go and try to find people to recruit. And we went to his family's bar. And we walked in, that's the day that Nick Foles threw 7 touchdown passes. Right? Yeah. And there was nobody in there. Nobody. We were the only Eagle fans sitting there. I don't know if there were more than 5 other people in the bar.
Yeah.
It was a bummer. Like to be like, we were all pumped up, like, oh, it's so much plays, it's gonna be awesome.
Well,
you walk in, it's like they look at you like, what the hell are you doing?
Andy Reid.
Watch the birds.
Andy Reid had something for
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati players because he got Connor Barwin.
Connor Barwin's another
a free agent. He got the left end, defensive end, Cole. Was it Cole?
Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another guy.
Yep.
And at one point they had 6 Cincinnati. Then the interesting part was he goes to Kansas City, and who's one of his first draft picks? Travis Kelce.
Who only has a career because his brother saved his ass when he was there.
Yes. Yeah. He got in all that trouble.
A lot of with the weed.
Yeah.
What do you make of all that Taylor Swift nonsense?
They said it best. The two of them said today that it's been overdone. It's enough.
Completely overblown. The best part that's come of that, and I posted the meme yesterday. If anybody, did you see it? Yeah. So there's that whole entourage from the Sunday night game, and Hugh Jackman's up there, Blake Lively, and
Ryan
Reynolds, and Taylor. They're all up there having a good old time. And there's Brittany Mahomes, and the caption of it is, when you think you're a celebrity, but then actual celebrities show up to your box to watch the game.
What's funny, because she took her out with her.
I can't stand Brittany.
I like the one with the 3 guys, and he's like, I think it's an omen, and it was Kelsey Hurts Swift.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she apparently went out with the girls on Saturday night.
Oh,
with Taylor Swift and
Brittany did.
Yeah,
Brittany Mahomes?
yeah.
Did they do that just because they felt bad for her? Because she was pouting up in that box, dude.
Well, I was reading an article to my wife about the fact that somebody who doesn't apparently like her called her insufferable.
She is insufferable.
And they said, can you imagine how much more insufferable she'll be now that she's Taylor's friend?
Oh, God, I can't. Oh, my God. I just can't with that.
Yeah.
Can't we just deal with Patrick
She
Mahomes?
will be sure they are.
Wouldn't it be enough to just deal with Patrick? I
Yeah.
actually kind of like Patrick
I
Mahomes,
do,
except
too.
for the fact that he beat us in the Super Bowl. Outside of that, I have no issue with Patrick. Now, his brother's a scumbag. He's a douche. Right? This is the dude that was, like, forcing himself on a bar owner during the summer. And with the whole, don't you know who I am? Dude, you're nobody.
Yeah, your
Your brother
brothers.
is the best quarterback on the planet. Can't you just be happy with the life that your brother has provided you? You have to run around and be a scumbag? I can't stand it. And then I'm sure Brittany's a lovely woman. She just annoys the ever-loving hell out of me. So, flash forward to let's go. So now we win the Super Bowl in 17.
Oh, that was great.
Now look, I was a huge Carson Wentz fan, and I
was
supported
too.
Carson Wentz way longer than I should have. Right? I to borderline making excuses, but I mean, he never really recovered. Right?
I don't understand how a guy could look that good his rookie year and look so bad now.
Yeah, I think he rushed back from the knee injury because of what happened with Foles going on that run and winning the Super Bowl. He rushes back from the knee, then he ends up with the back problem because his mechanics were all screwed up because of the knee. And then he finally somewhat gets right towards the end of the 2019 season. We get into the playoffs, and Jadeveon Clowney with that cheap shot, back of the head, pushes his head to the ground, concussed, he's out. Right, we lose the game. That's his only shot. As you know, I'm finally in the playoffs to be the guy. And what happens the following year draft? Second round, they take you. It hurts.
That should have been an indication. I couldn't understand why they'd use a second round pick on a quarterback.
Oh, I was furious at the time.
Yeah, and then you realize later, they knew something back then.
I think they knew that he wasn't right after that hit from Clowney.
Yeah.
I think they knew his brain was a little scrambled up. His body was failing him. He was not the athlete he had been previously.
And apparently not popular in the locker room.
And then he's going out on the press conferences and saying, "Well, I just got to play better. I just got to keep playing my game. I'm not going to change the way I play." And Green Legion used to have a guy, Hollis Thomas, as part of it. And he would go on and he would scream about it, like, "Some bitch, you better play. You better change the way you're playing. You stink right now." What do you got here?
I think
What do you got? Your cousin?
Bill Berge.
Bill Berge.
Yeah.
Now hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Berge, of course, another one with his Cincinnati connection.
Right.
Yeah. He played with them first, and then the Eagles got him.
Over to
Yeah.
Philly.
And he was a great player. Thank you, Tom.
Brian Walden, I was a Carson Wentz fan until he became a crybaby. Perfect. Right? So he leaves. He's gone. We got to get him out the door. And they get rid of Peterson, too, which I think at that point you kind of had to. There was just too much crap going on.
But that's a shame because I really liked him. And
I was all right with Dougie.
I didn't like him as much as I did Andy, but I
I
certainly
was
liked
done
him.
with Andy by the time we were done.
I
I had enough. The message got stale, dude. I'm like, we were getting worse.
Did you
Now,
hear?
to replace it with Chip Kelly pissed me off.
Oh,
That was horrible.
yes. Did you hear what Andy said when they were asking him about the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing?
No.
I set them up.
Over a cheeseburger.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we used to call him the Sausage King of Philadelphia. Right?
Yeah, the Chip Kelly was a disaster.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Well, they gave him too much control. So he comes in with this high-octane offense, right? Constant plays, right? This is stuff that works with guys who are 18 to 21 years old, right? Who are still hungry trying to make the league, not guys who are 25 to 35 years old who are professionals already getting paid.
Yeah.
You can't run like that. You gas your defense. Comes in with that high-octane crap, then he gets rid of all the high-octane players. Shady's gone. Jackson's gone. It made no sense.
Anybody that bucked him, I think, he got rid of.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what happened. And Jackson was the type that would, for better or worse, would buck whoever. So Wentz goes, Peterson goes, in comes Nick, and in comes Jalen. And that brings us to present day. Now, we make the Super Bowl last year. Jalen's amazing. Right?
Oh,
the offense is clicking all over the place. The defense with 70 sacks during the regular season. Not a whole lot to hate.
Nope.
Falls short in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Barely. Because Jonathan Gannon couldn't get one freaking stop in the second half. Defense.
Yeah.
So now we come to today. And there's a lot of folks out there who are we're the worst 4-0 team that they've ever seen. And, wait until they actually play someone and all this kind of crap. I am nervous about our pass defense. And Jalen looks inconsistently comfortable in the pocket, right? The end of the game last week, he looked great. Prior to that, he's looked a little lost at times throwing from the pocket.
Yeah,
Where do you think this year's team is headed?
I think this year's team is one of those that they will play to the level of their competition.
I hate that.
Yeah, not saying it's good, but I think that's the type of team they are.
You think that's what they're going to be?
Yep, I think they're going to play better when they play better competition.
Which is coming.
And he's got to figure out a way around that.
Yes.
Because you can't do that in the Super Bowl and expect to win.
Well, you're not going to do that against the 49ers.
No.
If we played the 49ers right now, I'm not so sure what the final score of that game would be. I don't think it'd be very pretty.
Yeah.
They are clicking on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, and the Eagles got to take advantage now because they're an older team.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of more kind of easier games before it starts getting rough.
Yeah.
Then you're going to play Mike. So we're at LA, at the Jets, then we come home for Miami.
Yeah, well, the Jets won't be anything.
No.
Yeah.
Come home for Miami, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, but playing them at home is going to be an
That's
advantage.
key. And at night,
Yep.
right? And then we've got Dallas, then the bye week. And we come out of the bye at Kansas City, home for Buffalo and San Francisco, Dallas again, and then Seattle. That is a brutal stretch of games. So you got to make hay now.
Yep.
And then we finish up our final three are Giants, Cardinals, Giants.
Yeah.
So those should be wins, right?
I don't see the Giants turning things around.
No, I think they stink.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're getting any better.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is a disaster. The quarterback is a disaster. Saquon's hurt.
The only thing I like about the Giants is the trade they made with the Bengals, right? They took the center from Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
And they got B.J. Hill back.
Yeah.
So, and that was a good trade.
But then you see this tush push thing that we do, or the brotherly shove, right? Will the Giants try it? And not only do they fail, but
we were saying two Giants got hurt and may miss the next game.
Right, so 4 other teams try this play over the weekend.
Yeah.
Nobody can pull it off. And the Giants go to do it, and they lose 2 more guys.
Yeah, the difference is the quarterback.
Yeah, not every quarterback squats 600 pounds.
Yeah. Yep. And not every team has Jason Kelce at center.
Every team has Jason Kelce at center. That's
Yes.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. See, I told you time flies. We're already an hour and 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I told you it goes fast. I try to warn them. Once you get going, man, it goes quick. And Dave is a superstar. This is your cousin again here. I agree. I 100% agree. This has been a lot of fun.
We're 2 months apart in age. And like I said, in Kensington, we were born a block apart from each other. And we went to high school together. So
they grew up real close.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have him aboard here, and I hope you keep coming back. Won't have Dave every week, but I think next week, Mike.
Unfortunately, my only love stronger than Philadelphia football is in town.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Fish.
Ah,
Hey, Mike.
understood.
Say hi,
Hi, Don and Arlene.
There you go. Hi, Don and Arlene.
Make a little appearance.
Get in
I
here
was
with.
told to make an appearance. Hi, Don and Arlene.
All right, guys. On that note, Dave, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
This
Thanks
was
for
a lot of
inviting
fun.
me.
We'll have to do this again.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, Don and Arlene, and Tom and Joan, and Matt, if you're there, and Laura and Tom the third.
Well, you're better at reading off the names at the end of this than I am.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for almost 2 years. We'll also throw in Lou Mancini, Brian Walden, Keenan Harmon, Russ Taylor, Lou Dominguez. I'm sorry I didn't get to call you guys out like I normally do when there's a guest that takes the priority. Andrew Bagley, and whoever else I may have missed. Guys, this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, part of Green Legion Radio. We thank you for joining us as always. Hope you come back again next week, even for the newbies. I know we won't have the superstar with us again next week, but we hope you keep coming back to join us. So until then, be safe. Enjoy the upcoming weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which if you've seen me out on Green Legion trips, that was just pretty freaking small. Remember, the judge ain't back in until Monday. And as always, go Birds!
Go Birds.
All right, kids, we're going to get out of here. Take care. Be safe. We love you.